Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Tuesday night Tanak and news briefing, the 2nd of June, 2026. Okay, my topic for discussion is Black Americans were never what they were taught. But the DNA reveals that. We're going to play the video and we'll break it down. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. We have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen for those that want to support this channel and have it move along. That too will be greatly appreciated. Okay, for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanak and the Torah, Tanak being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer. Okay, now this channel was created to aid and assist our Hebrews who are waking up in these last days and these final hours and understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our Tuesday night Tanakh and our news briefing. Okay, we do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a prayer, and a psalm, and then we have our topic for discussion, which I just mentioned, is the Black Americans were never what they were taught, and the DNA is revealing that now. Okay, we'll open it up for some Q&A, any questions, any comments, or any dialogue or testimonies, and then we'll go into our Tuesday night Tanakh and news briefing. Okay, and then we'll pick a scripture at the end. We'll read that scripture, we'll break it down, we'll talk about it, and then we're going to close out. Okay, so this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we come before thee at this time. We appreciate you, oh Lord, for your patience and your guidance in these last days. Oh Lord, we thank you for awakening of us to this great understanding of your word. Okay, oh Lord, we see your mighty hand in the world's affairs and how you are constructing your people's deliverance, and we trust and rely upon thee. And for this cause, we honor and respect you greatly. Turn not thy face from us, but allow us in our searching of you to find you, O Lord, and to dwell with you. Peace be unto you. Okay. With that being said, I'll read the song right quick. Okay. I'll read Psalm 132. Okay, and my reasoning for for reading Psalms 132 is it tells us who our Messiah is going to be and who it is that's coming back in the last days. Okay, so let's deal with it. This Psalms 132. It's a prayer for the blessings on the sanctuary. Okay, Lord, remember David and all his afflictions, how he swore unto the Lord and vowed unto the mighty God of Jacob. Surely I will not come into the tabernacle of my house, nor go up into my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyelids, or slumber to my eyelids, until I find out a place for the Lord, a habitation for the mighty God of Jacob. Lo, we heard of it at Ephesus. We found it in the fields of the woods. We will go into the tabernacle. We will worship at its footstool. Arise, O Lord, into thy rest, thou and the ark of thy strength. And let thy priests be clothed with righteousness, and let thy saints shout for joy, for thy servant David's sake. Okay, verse 10. For thy servant David's sake, turn not away thy face of thy anointed. The Lord hath sworn in truth unto David. He will not turn from it. Of the fruit of thy body will I set upon thy throne. If thy children will keep my covenant and my testimony that I shall teach them, their children shall also set upon thy throne forevermore. For the Lord hath chosen Zion, he hath decided for his habitation. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell, for I have desired it. I will abundantly bless their provisions, and I will satisfy the poor with bread. I will also clothe their priests with salvation, and our saints shall allow for joy. There will I make the horn of David to bud. I have ordained a lamp for my anointed. His enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. So we see right here, and like I said, they want you to think that uh, in the Psalms, they come up with this typology, and they want you to think that dualism, and they want you to think that the Psalms is talking about Jesus Christ. David is alluding to Jesus Christ, but he's not. David is the Messiah, and he's the one. He's the one that got literally anointed. He's the one that the Lord of hosts is talking to. So we see right here in this Psalm 132, the very first verse, Lord, remember David and all his afflictions. So we see right here, David was afflicted. See, okay. So then we go to verse 10. For thy servant David's sake, not Jesus, turn not away thy face of thy anointing. So right here, David is the anointed. Okay. And then we go to verse 18. We see that the Lord says, 17 and 18, there will I make the horn of David to bud. So he's going to resurrect David. That's in uh, Ezekiel 37, verse 25, and it's also in Isaiah. It's in it's a lot of other places, but those are two that's big. Isaiah 66, verse, I think it's 7. So anyway, 17 and 18, it's the Lord promised to David. There will I make the horn of David the butter. I have ordained a lamp for my anointing. His enemies will I clothe with shame, and upon himself shall his crown flourish. So, so you have to ask yourself, right? In proper English, right? Thinking like a Hebrew, he says, this verse 18 says, his enemies will I clothe with shame, but upon himself shall his crown flourish. So he's telling you he's gonna resurrect David. So to get the right understanding of that, you'll see right here in verse 11, the Lord hath sworn truth unto David. He will not turn from it. Of the fruit of his body will he set upon thy throne. So he told David, the throne is David's, not Yahweh's. It's not Yahweh's throne, it's David's throne. So he says he's using David's seed to preserve his seed until the end, when he's going to put David back on his own throne. Okay. Then it says another thing to understand, that this Lord, the mighty God of Jacob, is not Yahweh. You got these 7 angels that the Most High created in the beginning, and Michael was the first one he created. This is the mighty God that's over Jacob. Daniel chapter 10, verse 21 tells you that. Gabriel tell you that. So we see that he says, how we know that this is not Yahweh. Yahweh dwells in the heavens of heaven, right? Okay, so this person right here, this being right here says in 13, for the Lord hath chosen Zion. See that? He have desired it for his habitation. So you say, okay, well, he's in the heavens of heaven, but he coming back and forth to the earth, right? Well, look what it says, 14. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell. I have desired it. So he Jerusalem, Zion, where he live at. Yahweh ain't trying to come down here and be, in Zion. Say none of that. This ain't none of Yahweh. It's the Lord of hosts. Then he says, because of that, because that's where he chose to dwell at and reside, he says, I will abundantly bless her provisions. Zion, Jerusalem, Israel. I will abundantly bless her provisions, and I will satisfy her poor with bread. Okay, and then you want to know who the suffering servant is? I will also clothe her priest with salvation, and her saints shall shout aloud for joy. Okay, got anything on that?
Yes, sir, brother Leonard. I have a question. Um,
Okay,
about verse 6.
okay,
I remember one time you talking about that and breaking it down. But the verse says, "Lo, we heard of it at Ephrata. We found it in
right,
the fields of the wood." Could you break that down? Ephrata.
right. That's if you go back to uh, I'm thinking it's in Second Samuel, First Samuel, and David was okay, when the Most High Lord all uh sent Samuel to David to Jesse house. That's where Jesse dwelled at. Right, you go back further than that. That's where if I'm not mistaken, I think I'm right, but that's where uh Sarah Sarah died in Ephesus. But let me get it. It's a place in Bethlehem, near Bethlehem, Ephesus. So it says right here, I start reading at chapter 16, 1 Samuel. The Lord said unto Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejoiced? I rejected him from reigning over Israel. Fill thy home with oil, and I will send thee to Bethlehem, to the Bethlehemite. So Jesse is a Bethlehemite. He lived in Bethlehem. Like when you understand what these people done, that's why they got JC coming from Bethlehem. So, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, how can I go? If Saul buried, he will kill me. And the Lord said, take a heifer with thee and say, I am come to sacrifice to the Lord. And call Jesse to sacrifice, and I will show thee what thou shalt do. And thou shalt anoint unto me him whom I have whom I name unto thee. So he's this way he sent David to Bethlehem of Euphrates. Okay, and then let me get that again. Another verse, Micah, and that's just like I say. When you understand this, then you see that JC is a forest. So you go to Micah right quick. This is really what exposes Micah. I think it's chapter 5, verse 2. Micah 5 and 2. Yeah. So here we go. So right here, like I said, this is where the trickery coming in there. It says, verse 5, I just read what happened. He sent Samuel to Ephesus, right, to anoint David. JC was never anointed. So now gather thyself in troops. Gather thyself in troops. He have laid siege against us. They shall smite the judge. So I just also told you when I read the Psalms that David is going to be resurrected. Psalms 80, Isaiah 66, verse 6 and 7. He's going to resurrect David. And Ezekiel 37, 24, 25. He's going to resurrect David. Okay. Our forefathers knew that. So it says, lay siege unto us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the trees. But thou, O Bethlehem Euphrates, see that? That's where he sent Samuel to anoint David. But thou, O Bethlehem Euphrates, though thou be little, it's a little small town, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall come forth unto me. So resurrect, like we just read in We just read in Psalm 132. Unto me, yet says, among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose going forth have been from old, from everlasting. So that, like I said, we've been over this before in previous videos. I done broke this down. This everlasting was, they put that on there to make you believe that that's JC by putting everlasting. But if you read it and based on the precepts I just gave you, he will say, but thou, O Bethlehem Euphrates, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come, David, forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel. His going forth have been from old. So when they say he's going forth, he already the rule. Like I said, when you understand what this, how these people concocted JC, so David already done ruled, and he died, and then the Most High is gonna resurrect him. So he says out of Bethlehem Euphrates, he's gonna resurrect David, and he's gonna put him back on his throne, like I just read in 32. He was already there before. He's gonna resurrect him. That's what this telling you. This tell you go right along with 66, Isaiah 66, and let me get that verse. I want to keep on not quoting scripture. Okay, so the scripture is 66. Okay, 66 and says, start at 5. Hear ye the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word. This is Isaiah 66, verse 5. Hear ye the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word. The brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy, and ye shall be ashamed. We just read that in Psalm 132. A voice of noise from the temple. A voice from the temple. This is what David buried it. A voice of the Lord that rendered recompense to his enemies. So in order for him to render recompense to the enemy, he's going to resurrect David. Before she travailed, Zion, she brought forth, before her pains came, she was delivered of a man child. There it is. That's David. So you say, what are you talking about? Go to Ezekiel right quick. 37. Ezekiel 37 says, like I said, he got it, the creator is, he's not dyslexic, you know what I'm saying? So he knows what he's saying. So we in 20, Ezekiel 37, just the bones. He's going to resurrect our fathers. 23, neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any other transgression, but I will save them out of their dwelling places wherein they are sinned, and I will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. Then 24, and David, my servant, right here, Ezekiel, David dead. And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they shall all have one shepherd, not two. They shall also walk in my judgments, observe my statutes, and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they, their children, and their children's children, shall forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. So we see right here, you got precept after precept showing you that he's going to resurrect David in these last days. And that's when you understand what after this is. It says it's a little small town near Bethlehem, tied to Bethlehem. And so that's why it's always mentioned in there, but very few people understand that. You never hear that when it comes to JC. They focus is Bethlehem. Bethlehem is the big word, the big connection point. Very few people understand Ephesus. Okay, you got anything on that?
in Shalom, brother Linus. So, um, I'm laughing a little bit because that's not Nazareth, right? And like, what
No,
is that? Right?
no. Is that something?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got anything else?
No, sir. I'm good on. I'm good. Shalom.
Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go to our Tuesday night news briefing. Okay. Like I said, when concocted this, aspired to jump on this. The objective of the briefing is I'm combining current events and end time prophecies with the Tanakh, with the Old Testament, which is from Genesis to Malachi, with our scriptures, the Hebrew scriptures. The New Testament is a forest. It's a concoction of these Edomite Jews, in Rome and all that. JC is their God they created. Like I said. So, like I said, the purpose of this briefing is to, uh, based off of that understanding, is to correctly deal with the scriptures, connect them to current events, and rightly divide the prophecies of the end times. Okay. So, our first video is played right quick.
Oh, this is a little bit concerning. We are now being told by the UN that there's an 80% chance the world experiences an El Nino event. And some experts believe this will turn into a super El Nino. Watch this.
The world is in for an El Nino event, driven by warmer than average waters in the Pacific Ocean. This year, that global weather pattern could be more severe than normal, something meteorologists call a super El Nino.
But what exactly is a super El Nino, and why should we be concerned about this, especially us here in the United States? Well, I want to go over a few things first. It says right here, the UN urges the world to ready for extreme heat risk from El Nino. But what exactly does this mean? How are we going to be impacted? Well, I want to read you a few things. First off, it says, an El Nino event that could drive up global temperatures and increase the risk of extreme weather is expected to hit in the coming months. This is why we're already seeing some very interesting changes in our weather patterns. We're seeing some states get hit with rain and hail. Others are extremely dry. Some are colder. Others are a little bit warmer. We're seeing that right now. It says right here, according to the World Meteorological Organization, El Nino, a periodic warming of sea surface temperatures in the central and eastern Pacific Ocean, has an 80% chance of forming before September and a 90% chance of persisting until November. It says we need to prepare for a potentially strong El Nino event, which will exacerbate drought and heavy rainfall and increase the risk of heat waves both on land and in the ocean. It goes on to say, extreme heat alone is already one of the deadliest climate hazards we face, and an El Nino event could intensify the threat. Yeah, that's where we're at. I want to read something to you, though. This is what we need to be prepared for here in the United States. It says, for Americans, an El Nino event could bring more storms to the southeast, but likely fewer Atlantic hurricanes due to the wind shear. So that's good news. Fewer doesn't mean there'll be none, but there will be less. It says there'll also be hotter, drier conditions in part of the west, which is a little bit concerning, and I'll address that in a moment. But it says it could also possibly worsen the drought we are experiencing here in the western part of the United States. Goes on to say people should prepare for heat waves, potential water shortages in the southwest, and overall climate stress, depending on your region. Even with fewer hurricanes, it says it's important to stay alert for severe weather. Okay. Now, if you're on the East Coast or in the Northeast, it says a strong El Nino typically brings a milder winter meaning fewer cold snaps and less snow. So that's on the East Coast and also the Northeast. Says, while the Southeast may see more rain and severe storms, the Northeast could have wetter conditions with more rain than snow. Interesting. It also says we could also, overall, the East could see warmer and wetter conditions, so people need to prepare for flooding as well. But I want to read something to you right here, okay? It says, why do the changes from El Nino matter? They matter for many different reasons. Some people think, oh, El Nino, La Nina, no big deal. This could be a rare super El Nino, or what some are calling a Godzilla El Nino. It says, El Nino is one of the world's most closely watched climate signals because it offers clues about storms, drought risk, crop yields, and energy demand months in advance. I want to play this little clip for you.
No need for adhesives, no dentist.
So it seems like to me it's a setup. Whatever they got coming, they setting it up by bouncing off this so-called Super El Nino, whatever you call it. El Nino. Hold up. Here we go.
Waters in the Pacific completely changed Texas weather this year, and forecasters say we may be heading into a rare super El Nino. That means cooler temperatures, more rain, and possibly even snowier conditions across parts of Texas later this year. Meteorologists already say the El Nino may be behind unusually mild temperatures and rare cold fronts arriving as summer begins. By fall and winter, a stronger southern jet stream could bring wetter weather statewide, especially helpful after years of brutal drought. But experts warn, one rainy season may not erase 6 years of water shortages. In the Texas Panhandle, El Nino winters often mean better chances for snow. The big question now, though, is could this become the strongest El Nino in recorded history? Texans may want to prepare for a weather roller coaster in the months ahead.
What's happening over in the Middle East? Fertilizer costs have jumped. They've surged. And so farmers are trying to buy what they can, but their concern is they're going to throw down their fertilizer on their crops. What if the crops end up dying because we don't have enough water? We have a water shortage. And on top of that, we face drier and hotter conditions. Yeah, that could be a recipe for disaster.
Okay, you got any feedback on that?
Shalom, brother Leonard. Like you said it, to me, it's kind of like a setup too. Like the weather has been weird in my experience for the last few years, you know.
Right.
And even when we've been getting some of these bad storms, it's been raining, like, you know, it'll seem like it's a crazy thunderstorm or tropical storm, and then it'll stop. You know, and then
Right.
so like even that don't seem like normal to me, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I know it's down here where I'm at, it's in Louisiana, it's this whole 2026 been weird.
Right. Yes, sir, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Cause it just rained. Matter of fact, I think it was Monday or Sunday, brother Leonard, and it rained. Like it rained hard. Like I was like, oh man, I might need to cut the lights off and all that. And then you know, and then it stopped and the sun kind of came out. I'm like, what?
Right.
Crazy.
And then I noticed that because I've been planting the last couple of years and dealing with the flower beds and gardens and all that. And you know, it's a certain time of the year, April, is when, you know, people wait around for that last cold front to come in, and it's in April. But the cold front came in, a lot of people planted their stuff and all that, but 2 more cold fronts came behind. Right. And I hadn't seen that in a while. So like I said, and so even the crops and all that is all it's off, everything off. Yeah.
Right. That I feel like that's it sound like a design.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go. We got another one right here.
For centuries in our country, the law has accepted the unworthy. It has accepted that one human being can belong to another.
So this guy Macron, he just won't go away. We're gonna check out what he's doing.
It has accepted that children can be torn from their mothers, that women can be sold, that men can be branded, offered up, whipped, mutilated, And all this was legally authorized by law. That is what the Black Code was.
My people, something truly unbelievable just happened in France last week. Let me ask you a question. If you abolish something, truly abolish it, what do you do with the law that created it in the first place? Do you repeal it? Do you erase it? Do you burn it and make sure it never sees the light of day again? Now, I want you to sit with that question for a moment. Because France abolished slavery in 1848. But then for the next 178 years, it did something remarkable. Nothing.
The reason they are coming after the Daily Wire is because they...
For nearly 2 centuries, the Code Noir, the infamous royal decree that governed slavery throughout the French Empire, remained on the books. This was the law that legally reduced African men, women, and children to property. The law that regulated their sale, their punishment, their exploitation. The law that helped sustain one of the largest systems of human bondage the world has ever known. It's not active, it's not enforceable, but it was never formally removed either. Never officially rejected, never symbolically buried. And here's the part that will stop you cold. The French lawmaker who finally brought the bill to erase it didn't even know that it still existed. He found out by accident. Think about that. One of the most notorious slavery laws in French history had been sitting there for generations, largely forgotten, untouched, and unrepealed. Until last week, when France's National Assembly voted unanimously to finally erase it. And the world is calling it historic. But my people, I have questions. Yeah. Because if slavery was abolished 178 years ago, why did it take until now, 2026, to finally remove the law that helped define it? What does it say about a society when a law like this can remain in its legal memory for nearly 2 centuries without anyone feeling compelled to confront it? And there's another reason that this story matters. Because France occupies a unique place in the history of slavery. Yes, it is one of the few major colonial powers that abolished slavery, later reinstated it under Napoleon, and then abolished it again. Which means that history has already shown us that progress is not always permanent. And so today, we're breaking down what the Code Noir was, what it did, why it survived for 178 years after slavery ended, and why many people say that deleting the law is only the easiest part. Because my people, the real question is not what France finally removed or erased. The real question is what still remains and who is still waiting for justice. But as a policy position, something that could be revisited, reversed, reinstated when the economics demanded it. And a policy position needs its infrastructure kept intact. The Code Noir was not just a law. It was a legal architecture, 60 articles that told you exactly how to classify, control, buy, sell, punish, and replace an enslaved population. That kind of framework does not build itself overnight. You see, it took decades to construct.
Sound like to me it's bouncing off of Willie Lynch. What do you think?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just like
Yeah, and still on the books, 178 years later. That's crazy. That's, to me, like I said, it's it's a sign to me of things to come. That's some serious hatred too. Okay, check this
Right.
out.
Making its way across the United States. And many experts believe that this could actually go from bad to worse. And it's all because of the FIFA World Cup. According to experts, they believe that the FIFA World Cup could be the start of a super spreader event for the norovirus. Look at this. It says a vomiting virus is spreading across most of the U.S. Goes on to say, hikers along the Pacific Crest Trail in Southern California have been hit with norovirus, but they're not the only ones suffering. Wastewater data shows high levels in many states. I want to actually show you that map. Look at this. This is the norovirus levels in wastewater. For much of the United States, it's in medium. The risk is medium. But over here in the northeast, it is high. You can see norovirus levels in wastewater is high. That's concerning because, again, we do not need much. And the norovirus can withstand and just stay on surfaces for days, and it would be transferred to the next person. Listen to this.
Earn a 200% commission rebate.
Okay. Okay.
Across most of our country, and it is norovirus. Wastewater data shows levels are now high nationwide with more than 1,100 outbreaks recorded since August. So here's what you need to know, folks. Health experts say it only takes as few as 10 virus particles to make you sick, and hand sanitizer, it's not going to kill it at all. You need soap and water. Symptoms hit within 12 to 48 hours, including nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and stomach cramps. And most people recover in 1 to 3 days. So cookouts, crowds, and travel this weekend are the perfect recipe for spread.
Not only just this weekend, okay, but health experts are advising if you are not feeling well to stay inside. Do not go out there and join the picnic. Don't go to the World Cup. Don't go watch the concert or even go to a movie. Stay inside your house. Stay isolated because, again, you can actually give it to the other people that you live with. So that's a huge problem there. But listen to this. It says, many experts are watching norovirus closely, especially during the FIFA World Cup. The FIFA World Cup, just so you have an idea, they're anticipating millions of international travelers coming into the U.S. alone. But it's not just the United States. It's also Mexico and Canada. But the FIFA World Cup starts officially, first whistle, will be on June 11th. It will go all the way until the finals on July 19th. This is a massive event. It's the biggest sporting event in the entire world. And yes, it's much bigger than the Super Bowl. But I want to play another clip for you. Listen to this.
Norovirus has had a small uptick in the United States. Now, for those of you who don't know, norovirus is one of those viruses that causes intense nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. It only lasts for 3 or 4 days, but during those 3 or 4 days, you are going to be pretty much attached to the bathroom. You're not going to venture far from it. Might I suggest investing in a bidet, because it will help things in the end. The norovirus is intense, and it is highly communicable. You probably heard about this virus on ships.
Now, we'll listen to the rest of this in a moment, but this is the thing. What are we doing in the next several weeks? Well, people are already going through graduation ceremonies. We are seeing high schoolers graduate, college students graduating, even in middle school and preschool and in elementary school, whatever you want to call it. There are events, there's get-togethers where now these are considered a spreading event. Maybe not a super spreader event, but when you factor in the amount of people that are coming together, if just one person has the norovirus, every single other person could potentially get that. It could be the symptoms could be minor. They're not stuck in a bathroom for days on end, but the concern is it can spread. I want you to listen to the rest of this, then I want to read some to you.
Okay, so what you think about that? Why would they still have Why would they still have the so-called fight or whatever thing event when they knowing that they call it a super spreader?
Yes,
World Cup.
sir. But Leonard, I would say one thing would be greed, right? Because they want it to be spread anyway, so they
Right.
gonna go ahead and take all the money from the ticket sales and the beer and all that stuff, and then get everybody sick.
Exactly. And that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. We'll keep an eye on that. Check this out. I thought this is pretty interesting.
America. Tonight, I need you to picture something. A 900-year-old medieval castle sitting on a cliff overlooking Lebanon. A fortress built by the Crusaders in the 12th century, one that has changed hands through wars and occupations and withdrawals for nearly a millennium. And on that castle today, the flag of Israel is flying. Not inside Israeli territory, not near the Israeli border. On Lebanese soil, deep inside a country where an American brokered ceasefire is supposed to be in place, where diplomats have been negotiating peace for weeks, where more than 3,000 people have already been killed since March. Israel crossed the Litani River, sent ground forces further into Lebanon than at any point since 2006, captured that castle and raised its flag. And Lebanon's prime minister called it a scorched earth policy. France called it unjustifiable and demanded a United Nations Security Council meeting. And while all of that was happening, the Iran peace deal still sits unsigned on Donald Trump's desk. Tonight, we are going to tell you everything about what Israel just did in Lebanon, what it means for the entire region, and why the flag flying over Beaufort Castle may have just made the Iran deal harder to sign than ever before. Stay with me. Let us start with the Beaufort Castle story, because it
Remember, it's supposed to be a ceasefire.
deserves to be understood in its full historical and strategic context, because only with that context can you understand why this moment is so significant. Beaufort Castle, known in Arabic as Kalat al-Shakif, sits on a cliff north of the Litani River in southern Lebanon, near the city of Nabatea, which is Lebanon's fifth largest city. The castle commands sweeping views of southern Lebanon and the border with Israel. It is a UNESCO-recognized historic site, a medieval fortress that has survived 9 centuries of Middle Eastern history. And it has a deeply personal meaning for the Israeli military that goes far beyond its strategic value. Israel first captured Beaufort Castle in June 1982 during its invasion of Lebanon. The battle for Beaufort became one of the defining moments of that war, one that cost Israeli soldiers dearly and was later turned into a major Israeli film about the cost of war and occupation. Israel held the castle and the surrounding territory for 18 years, maintaining a security zone in southern Lebanon until its withdrawal in the year 2000. That withdrawal was deeply controversial inside Israel. Many in the Israeli security establishment believed walking away from southern Lebanon was a mistake. And for 26 years, they watched Hezbollah fill the space that Israel left behind, build tunnel networks and weapons depots and launch infrastructure, and use southern Lebanon as a platform for attacks against northern Israel. Now, Israel is back, and the Israeli defense minister's statement about the recapture of Beaufort was not written in the language of military operations. It was written in the language of history. He said, and I want every American to hear these exact words, 44 years after the heroic Battle of Beaufort, and on this day commemorating the soldiers who fell in the First Lebanon War, our troops have returned to the summit of Beaufort and once again raised the Israeli flag there. That statement is not a military briefing. That is a declaration that Israel does not intend to make the same mistake twice. Israel left in 2000. It is saying today that leaving was the mistake and that it is back, and that this time the calculation may be different. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the capture of Beaufort a dramatic shift in the Lebanon campaign. He said Israel has now killed 8,000 Hezbollah militants since the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel, including 700 in the last month of fighting alone. He said, and this is a direct statement that carries enormous consequences for the peace process, I instructed the IDF to expand the maneuver in Lebanon. Our forces crossed the Litani River and captured the Beaufort Ridge, one of the most important strategic points for defending the communities of the Galilee and safeguarding the security of our forces. Crossing the Litani River is not a minor tactical adjustment. The Litani River has been the defining boundary in southern Lebanon since the 1978 UN Security Council resolution that called on Israel to withdraw from Lebanese territory. The Litani has been the line that defined Israeli occupation, Israeli withdrawal, and the zone that UN peacekeepers have been trying to maintain for decades. Every time Israel crossed the Litani, it was an escalation of historic significance. And still has not been signed. Trump walked out of the Situation Room on Friday without a decision. Vance said it was TBD. And since then, new complications have emerged. The US Treasury imposed fresh sanctions on Iran's military oil sales arm in the middle of the peace process, a move that sent a deeply contradictory signal to Iranian negotiators who have been told that sanctions relief is coming as part of the deal. Iran's foreign ministry maintained on Friday that there are no nuclear negotiations currently taking place. The IAEA still cannot get inspectors inside Iran, and Iran's stockpile of 440 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, 972 pounds of material, a short technical step from weapons grade, remains unaddressed in the first phase of any deal. There is a specific new detail about the uranium question that has emerged this week that America needs to understand. According to reporting from the New York Times, the deal framework allows for Iran to downblend its enriched uranium, meaning diluting it to a lower enrichment level, and keep it inside Iran under some form of international supervision. Iran offered to do exactly that before the war began. Trump rejected that offer and attacked Iran instead. And now, after 93 days of war, the nuclear outcome being discussed is almost identical to what Iran offered before a single bomb was dropped.
Okay, what do you think? I'm starting to see what Markel talking about. I mean, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, especially last week, all the bombing that Iran's supposed to have been doing with Israel is supposed to be on the verge of collapsing, and then all of a sudden here they come with this. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like it, but it ain't but so big. You know, they have you thinking that they on the brink of being wiped out, and then all of a sudden they come with this bull crap. Well, yeah, what you think?
Oh yeah, Shalom, brother Linda. I agree. It's a show.
Right, exactly.
Because they've been saying the same thing about Iran, and it's like.
Right.
Then y'all still having meetings, they still conducting business. It's like,
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then I mean, yeah, this crazy, man. The who they fight? Is it Iran and US war, or is it Iran and Israel war? Which one is it?
Right.
You know it's crazy, man. So but knowing these people, it's something behind it. They got some Ponzi scheme behind it, believe that. Yeah, so I want to deal with this right quick. This is big, and I'll be trying to explain it, but I think if I go this route right here, it's going to help a lot of people. But so many people don't understand that a Jew ain't the same as a Hebrew, and a Hebrew ain't the same as an Israelite. So we're going to watch this, and then at the end of it, it's a golden nugget in it. Okay, check it out.
This is how easy.
Big.
Without knowing exactly what they mean. Hebrews, Israelites, Jews, 3 names for the same people, or at least that's what everyone says.
Right.
But what if each of those words carried a completely different weight? What if swapping one for another was like confusing a person's name with the name of their hometown, or with the job title they hold at work? The Bible uses all 3. Historians use all 3.
Yeah. Edomites use all 3. Edomites doing this. This ain't got nothing to do with scriptures.
Most of us have never stopped to ask why. There is a line that cuts across more than 4,000 years of human history. It begins in a city called in the heart of Mesopotamia, where a man hears a voice that will change the course of the world. That line passes through the desert of Sinai, through the battlefields of Canaan, along the banks of the rivers of Babylon, through the streets of Jerusalem in the time of Jesus. And all along that road, the same people receive different names, not by accident, but because each name marks a profound transformation, a turning point in history, a moment when something changes forever. Understanding the difference between Hebrews, Israelites, and Jews is not an academic exercise. It is opening a window into the Bible that most people have never opened. It is discovering that when the sacred text calls someone a Hebrew, it is saying something completely different from when it calls them a Jew. It is realizing that Moses was a Hebrew, David was an Israelite, and Paul was a Jew, and that those three descriptions reveal three complete
Paul is the Jew, remember that.
Distinct worlds, three historical moments, three ways of understanding the identity of a people chosen by God. But to understand all of this, we need to go back to the beginning, to the point where everything starts, to a land between two rivers where a man named Abram does not yet know that his name will be changed, that his descendants will be enslaved and freed, exiled and restored, scattered and gathered again. He does not yet know that the entire world will learn his name, that three religions will call him Father, that millennia later, people on continents he never imagined existed would read his story and feel that it speaks directly to them. This man is standing in a city that is the center of the known world, Ur of the Chaldeans, not a village of shepherds. It is a metropolis with ziggurats that touch the sky, markets that draw merchants from every direction, temples dedicated to Nana, the moon god. And in the middle of all that human grandeur, in the middle of all that civilization built with pride and brick, Abram hears something that comes from no temple, a voice that says, "Go." Ur of the Chaldeans sits in what is today southern Iraq, near the modern city of Nasiriyah. In the 3rd millennium before Christ, it was one of the most developed cities in the ancient world. Archaeologists have found evidence there of cuneiform writing, sophisticated irrigation systems, jewelry made of gold and lapis lazuli, royal tombs with dozens of servants buried alongside their masters. It was a place of power, of culture, of wealth accumulated over generations. And Abram, son of Terah, belonged to that world. The text of Genesis says that Terah, Abram's father, had already begun to move before the divine call. He left Ur with his family heading toward Canaan, but stopped in Haran in northern Mesopotamia. It is there that Terah dies, at 205 years old, according to the sacred text. A number that to modern ears sounds impossible, but that to ancient Hebrews carried symbolic weight about the longevity of a founding patriarch. It is in Haran that Abram receives the definitive call. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. Now comes the first layer of our mystery. Abram is not yet called a Hebrew here, but the name Hebrew, in Hebrew Ivri, already carries within it the essence of what is happening. The word Ivri comes from a root that means to cross over, to pass to the other side, to go beyond. Some scholars connect the name to the physical act of crossing the Euphrates River to enter Canaan. Others see in the word a broader meaning, the one who came from beyond, the one who belongs to the other side. And perhaps both interpretations are true at the same time, because Abram is not merely a man crossing a river. He is a man crossing a much deeper boundary. He leaves behind an entire world, the Mesopotamian civilization with its multiple gods, its established rituals, its certainties built over generations, and walks toward a future he cannot see, guided by a voice that promises more than any ziggurat ever promised. He is the first to cross over, the first to go to the other side, and that is why, when the name Hebrew appears for the first time in the Bible, in Genesis chapter 14, verse 13, it is applied to Abraham, who by that point has already received his new name. The first time the word Hebrew appears in the biblical text is fascinating. A messenger comes running to Abraham with terrible news. His nephew Lot has been captured by a coalition of kings. And the messenger calls Abraham Abram the Hebrew, not the patriarch, Not the prophet, not the chosen one, the Hebrew, the one who came from the other side, the one who crossed over. And this identity of the crosser will define his people for centuries. The Hebrews are, in this first historical moment, a people in motion. They do not yet have land. They do not yet have a nation. They do not yet have written law. What they have is a promise and a calling. They are defined not by where they are, but by where they came from and where they are going. When Joseph is sold as a slave in Egypt, the Egyptians call him a Hebrew, the foreigner, the one who came from beyond. When Moses confronts Pharaoh, he speaks in the name of the God of the Hebrews, not the God of the Israelites yet, not the God of the Jews, the God of those who crossed over, of those who came from the other side. This linguistic detail is not small. Egypt was the greatest power in the Mediterranean world for more than 2,000 years. When Egyptians wanted to diminish someone, they called them a foreigner, a non-Egyptian, one who does not belong here. And it is precisely this name of foreigner, Hebrew, that God's people carry with pride in their moments of oppression, as if the identity of the called, the identity of the crosser, were stronger than any chain. But then something that will completely transform the way this people sees itself and is seen by the world. And that transformation begins on a night of wrestling on the banks of a stream called Jabbok, where a man who should be sleeping finds himself caught in a battle he did not ask for and will not fully understand until dawn. The name of that man is Jacob, grandson of Abraham, son of Isaac, father of 12 sons, who will become the 12 tribes of a people. Jacob is a complicated character. The Bible does not smooth out his edges. He deceived his brother Esau to take the birthright. He deceived his father Isaac to receive the blessing. He spent years running from the consequences of his choices. But Jacob is also a man who desires God with an intensity that is startling, who dreams of ladders that touch the sky, who makes vows and keeps them, who fights when most would flee. On that night by the Jabbok, Jacob is afraid. His brother Esau is coming to meet him with 400 men, and Jacob does not know whether he comes in peace or in war. He sent gifts ahead. He divided his family into groups to increase the chances of survival. He did everything human prudence recommends. And then, alone in the darkness, he encounters a being who wrestles with him until daybreak. The text of Genesis chapter 32 is one of the most enigmatic in all the Bible. A man appears and wrestles with Jacob. They wrestle through the entire night. When the dawn begins to break, the being touches the socket of Jacob's hip and wrenches it. And even so, Jacob does not let go. The being says, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." And Jacob answers with one of the most audacious lines in all of Scripture. "I will not let you go unless you bless me. I will not let you go, even with his hip out of socket, even bleeding, even broken. I will not let you go." And then comes the question, what is your name? A strange question, coming from a supernatural being who certainly knows the answer. But names in Hebrew culture are not mere labels. They reveal character, destiny, essence. And the being is not asking for information. He is provoking a confession. He is asking Jacob to name himself, to recognize himself, to say out loud who he is. And Jacob says, "Jacob," which means supplanter, the one who grabs by the heel, the one who replaces. It is a name loaded with his history of deception and flight. And then the transformation happens. Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Israel, in Hebrew, Israel, the one who struggles with God, or perhaps the one whom God governs, the one with whom God persists. Scholars debate the exact etymology, but the weight of the name is clear. Something changed there. A man who was a deceiver becomes a wrestler. A fugitive becomes a patriarch. A name of shame becomes a name of honor. And it is that name, Israel, that will name an entire people. The sons of Jacob are the sons of Israel. The 12 tribes that are born from them are the 12 tribes of Israel. The nation that will form in the Promised Land is this nation of Israel. The kingdom that David will rule is the kingdom of Israel. The name carries within it the entire theology of a relationship. This people is not passive. It is not a people that simply receives orders and obeys in silence. It is a people that wrestles, that questions, that persists even when it is wounded, that does not let go even when it would be easier to release. The Israelites are, therefore, something different from the Hebrews in the historical sense of the term. The Hebrews are the crossers, the foreigners, those who came from the other side. The Israelites are the children of the struggle, the descendants of the one who did not let go. The heirs of a promise wrestled in the dark with a dislocated hip on the banks of a stream that most people have never heard of. When Moses leads the people out of Egypt, he is leading Hebrews, slaves who need to cross over, who need to go to the other side, who need to leave behind the world of Pharaoh. But when that same people receives the law at Sinai, when the 12 tribes organize themselves, when Joshua leads them to conquer Canaan, they are Israel. They are the children of the one who wrestled. And the difference matters, because being Hebrew is an identity of origin, and being Israelite is an identity of belonging, of covenant, of nationhood. The period of the judges, of the kings, of the united monarchy under Saul, David, and Solomon, all of it is the story of Israel as a nation with its glories and its shames, its moments of splendid faithfulness and its devastating falls into idolatry. A nation that builds the most glorious temple in the Middle East and also bows before idols on hilltop altars. A nation that produces the Psalms, the most profound expression of human spirituality the ancient world ever knew, and also executes prophets. A nation that is at the same time everything God wanted and everything God had to discipline. And then comes the rupture. After the death of Solomon, the kingdom divides. 10 tribes to the north form the kingdom of Israel, with its capital in Samaria. 2 tribes to the south, Judah and Benjamin, form the kingdom of Judah, with its capital in Jerusalem. And here begins the third layer of our story. Here begins the history of the name that the whole world knows. The name that generated centuries of theology, persecution, devotion, and debate. The name Jew. The word Jew comes from Judah Yehuda in Hebrew. Judah was the 4th son of Jacob.
Yeah, so here go the deception right here. I'm going to set it up first. So we see right here where we get the word Hebrew, then we see where we get the word Israelite. Well, I got something to say about the Hebrew part. He says when Abraham crossed over the Euphrates, but I beg to differ is when Moses went through the flood. What do you think?
I like that. Yes, sir. That would make more sense. That's a bigger event.
You got to go back to Hebrew too. That's where Hebrew come from. He got something else going on. But like I said before, so we know where the Hebrew come from, and these people are Hebrews. And then we know what happened with Jacob. Jacob wrestled with them, but where the drama come in at is with, just like with JC, how so many people are hoodwinked and brainwashed with JC, but it's tied to this right here. Check it out. So he's dealing with the Jew now, right?
Ben Leah. His name means praised, or the one who praises the Lord. And within the 12 tribes,
you don't get Jew from Judah. That's 2 different people, but check it out.
Judah holds a special place of leadership. It is from the tribe of Judah that David, the most beloved king of Israel, comes. It is from the lineage of Judah that the messianic prophecy points. The scepter will not depart from Judah, the tribe of the lion, the tribe of kings. When the 10 northern tribes are conquered and scattered by the Assyrians around 722 before Christ, what remains with a coherent national identity are the southern tribes. They are the inhabitants of the kingdom of Judah, and it is from that geographic and tribal name that the word Jew is born. Initially, a Jew was simply someone from the kingdom of Judah, an inhabitant of a specific region, a political and geographic identity as much as a religious one. But then comes Babylon. In 608 before Christ, Nebuchadnezzar begins his campaigns against Judah. In 586, the Temple of Solomon is destroyed. The elites of Jerusalem are taken into captivity in Babylon. And here something extraordinary happens, something that will forever change what it means to be Jewish. Imagine this, a people whose entire identity is centered on a temple, on a city, on a land. A people who believe that God dwells in a specific place, between the cherubim, in the Holy of Holies, in a building constructed by their great king. And suddenly that temple is destroyed, that city is burned, that land is left behind. How do you maintain an identity when everything that defined that identity has been taken from you? The priests and scribes in Babylon face this question with a spiritual creativity that will reshape the religious history of the world. Without a temple, they create the synagogue, a place of gathering, reading, and teaching that can exist.
Right here, this is what I was talking about right here. They went to Babylon, the Israelites. They went to Babylon. They did 70 years in Babylon. Then they came back. And so what they did right here, when they created the synagogues, them Jews, them Edomites, that's after they fled into Africa. But they didn't fast forward the story or went back and took out that era. Like I said, when you go to the scriptures, the third beast ain't there. When you go to Malachi, the end of Malachi, you're at the end of the second beast. And what happened in first and second Maccabees been taken out. So now we know who the synagogue of Satan is. So they didn't create the synagogues in Babylon. We had prophets all over the place in Babylon. We had Hosea and all them, Ezekiel and all them came back from Babylon. It's after Antioch Epiphanes came. After Daniel 9:26, when the prince that shall come shall destroy the city. Israel was on the west coast of Africa. This is where the trickery come in at. This is how you get a Jew. A Jew ain't got nothing to do with no Israelite. These are people that from 143 BC to 70 AD, Edomites that was in the land. Obadiah tells you that. Then he ran them out. That's when you get the synagogue of Satan. Not while they was in Babylon. That's how they glazing over this. This is where the trickery come in at. Let's go back. Check it out.
When everything that defined that identity has been taken from you, the priests and scribes in Babylon face this.
Antiochus did this. Got to go to first Maccabees. Now when Nebuchadnezzar done this. Okay, this is where the trick come in at.
Question with a spiritual creativity that will reshape the religious history of the world. Without a temple, they create the synagogue, a place of gathering, reading, and teaching that can exist anywhere in the world.
Came in,
without sacrifices, they emphasize prayer, study, and observance of the law as forms of worship.
That's what JC came to the synagogue. Okay.
Worship. Without land, they create a portable identity, a faith that does not depend on geography. It is in Babylon that the Torah takes its final written form. It is there that the scribes compile, edit, and preserve the stories that will become the first books of the Bible. It is there that the Sabbath becomes the defining mark of Jewish identity, because it is something that can be observed anywhere, under any circumstances, without a temple, without a priest, without land. The Sabbath is the synagogue of time. And when Cyrus the Great, king of Persia, conquers Babylon in 538 before Christ and allows the exiles to return to their land, those who return no longer identify themselves merely as Israelites from the tribe of Judah. They are Jews, in Aramaic, Yehudah, with an identity forged in exile, tempered by loss, deepened by suffering, an identity that learned to survive without the crutches of geography and temple, an identity that carries its faith within itself, like a flame that the wind does not extinguish because it is sheltered inside the chest. It is important to understand here that when the people return.
So let's look at that. So you got to understand, how can they be dealing with synagogues and Yahweh still there? So when you look at that, you're gonna see what they've done. When they came back, it was righteous. When they came back from Babylon after 70 years, the Most High, Lord of Hosts had already told him he's going to bring them back. He the one, he constructed the whole thing, he brought them back. It's when they fled and went into Africa is where you pick this story up at, where you get the Jew at. Edomites and Jews, the synagogue of Satan. They done tricked it off and turned and superimposed the story and went back and tied it to when they left Babylon. But it's when they came in there in the book of Obadiah and stole the land. They come. This where you get Judaism and all this here. We on the West Coast. We dealing with Mali Empire, Shanghai Empire, and all that. Okay. This is what I mean by when you get people like Francis Bacon, these linguists, and I keep on forgetting this guy's name. I think of it, but you get all these people that they know how to superimpose stuff in the scriptures. All over so-called church fathers, Ebers and Caesarea and Polycarp, all of them. That's what this is. Jews.
Turn from the Babylonian exile. Not all 12 tribes are
Josephus.
Represented. The 10 northern tribes were scattered by the Assyrians more than a century earlier, and their distinct identity was largely lost in the mixing with other peoples. What returns is mainly the descendants of Judah, Benjamin, and the Levites, the priests, who remained with the kingdom of Judah. And these are the Jews in the most specific historical sense of the term. But as the centuries pass, the term Jew begins to expand. In the period between the Testaments, when Alexander the Great conquers the Middle East and Greek culture spreads across the entire region,
this is what they've done right here.
Comes to mean something cultural and religious.
This is how they brought in the New Testament right here. They like I said, they didn't superimpose the history, overlaid, took an era out and backed it up and took the whole era out and tied it to Babylon. Let's look at it. Let's look at it right quick. See what I'm talking about. So right here, I want to show you something. And you tell me if it's righteous or if it's from the Most High or not. We in Daniel, right? Let's look at it right quick. So I'm in Daniel. I think it's in chapter 8. Let me see. 9. Yeah, here you go. So this the vision of the 70 weeks. Now, according to this guy right here, they came from Babylon with these synagogues, right? So I'm in Daniel 9:20. And while I was speaking, this Gabriel talking to Daniel, while I was speaking and confessing my sins and the sins of my people Israel, these Israelites right here, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God. Yea, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, like I said, who you gonna listen to? Gabriel or Polycarp or John, okay? Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation, and he informed me, talked with me, and he said, Daniel, I am now come. Here you go. I have now come forth to give you skill and understanding. Now here you go. At the beginning of the supplication, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore, understand the matter and consider the vision. Now here you go. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon the city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sin and make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and the prophecy and anoint the most holy. So very few people understand that. So what's going on is 6 days the man supposed to work, seventh day the man rests. That's for the man, for the Israelite, for the land, for Zion. 6 years you work the ground, the 7th year you're allowed to rest. So right here, this 70 weeks determined upon 70 years, 790 years. They wasn't keeping this law. They wouldn't allow the land to rest. So we got to understand The land is the Lord of hosts. It was given to the Lord of hosts. That's his woman. They didn't allow her to rest. So 70 Sabbaths, you get 70 Sabbaths out of 490 years. So right here, once the 70 Sabbath, the 70 years in Babylon was over, it brought in everlasting righteousness, like I said right here, and make an end of sin. He sent them to Babylon for 70 years to make an end of sin and to make reconciliation for the iniquity, for that sin, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and the prophecy and anoint the most holy. So they did that. So it can't be synagogues coming back from Babylon with no synagogues. When they came back with Zerubbabel and Joshua and all them, that was righteousness. It's when Antiochus came. This is where the trickeration come in at. And like I said before, we had been on the west coast of Africa from 143 BC, from this prophecy in Daniel 9:25-26 says, and after 62 weeks, the Messiah shall be cut off. They cut Zerubbabel off when they sent and told Darius that David was back, and they cut him off for 2 years, and then he came back. He finished building the temple. Then after that, Antioch Epiphanes came. That's in First and Second Maccabees. When Antioch Epiphanes, the Greeks came, they ran the Israelites out of the land of Israel. They went on the west coast of Africa. And these Jews came in there, these Edomites. That's who the Jews are. This is when they concocted the synagogue of Satan. This is who they so-called Messiah, JC, came to. He a Jew. These Edomites. And like I said before, you can let it roll all that water on the duck back, but your understanding ain't gonna get no greater until you understand this. Because this is what happened. These Jews, this is who a Jew is. You don't get J-E-W from Judah or Judean. Okay? Play a little more. You got anything? You can play a little more after that. What you think?
Well, shalom, Brother Leonard. I think, the information that you're playing right now, this is some of those, like you be saying, them golden nuggets. Because to me, I used to, before I knew the books were out of order, right? When I had got to I think it's Ezra and Nehemiah, Brother Leonard, and they, and they're, I think it's around the time when they trying to stop them from building the temple, they act like the videos explaining, like when they came back from Babylon, like now their name is Jews. But before I knew the books were out of order, I just was like, okay, this was that time, not even understanding Daniel 9:25 and all that. I'm just like, oh, this is where the name comes from. But finding out that specific thing, that a Jew is not a Hebrew Israelite, it's not the same thing.
Right. This how they solidified the New Testament.
Right.
These Jews, because these ain't no Israelites. And like I said before, it's shameful because they'll say, well, like the guy I listened to a conversation, the guy said, if y'all the Israelites, y'all the real Jews, where y'all scrolls at? Because it go back way back to 143 BC. You got scrolls because of this. You came in there in 143 BC, and then in 70 AD you left. Ain't no breaking going on with you, but we've been, I got another video I'm gonna play at the end of this about what they done. They totally white. In order for to pass this on us, they had to totally annihilate our history. And I'm just showed you how they did it. One of the main ways is, like I said, they want you to think these people here was in Babylon. They wasn't. They came when the book of Obadiah, when you understand the timeline. They came back in righteousness, but they picked back up what they was doing. Then the Most High brought Antioch Epiphanes the same way he brought the Greeks, the same way he brought Nebuchadnezzar. But this time, like Daniel told them, Most High indignation was at a full. So he ran them completely out of the land over into the West Coast of Africa where they was at. But we done found out Negro land. And the whole time they was there, these people, these Edomites came in and stole the land, like Obadiah tells you. And then they were ran out, kicked out of the land in 70 AD by Titus and Vespasian. And they told the Most High in the book of Malachi, though you kick us out, we're going to return. They came back in 1978. So how can you return if you ain't never been there? So they came back. They made a mass circle from when they was given Nebuchadnezzar Titus and Vespasian and gave them safe passage. Herod and his lineage and these Edomites safe passage to Spain and Portugal. And when you understand the history of the transatlantic slave trade, it all started right there with Spain and Portugal. America started with these Edomite Jews right here. So they went all the way around the globe and came right back like they told the Most High, the Lord of hosts. They're going to return. They came back through trickeration and all these different treaties and all that they did with the Ottoman Empire and all that. They came back in 1948. These Jews ain't none of no Israelites. They ain't none of no Hebrews. Okay. Got anything else on that?
And Shalom, Brother Leonard. Yes, sir. I just wanted to mention too, one thing that stuck out to me when you were playing that, how he said the temples, he said the temple defines the identity,
Right.
of the people.
Exactly.
And so, the Israelites had a temple, but then like you said, the Jews got a synagogue.
Right.
That's not the same thing. And
And
neither is a church.
Right. And so, and like I was saying, when you understand that the Lord of hosts was behind the return, when Zerubbabel, he the one chose Zerubbabel and Joshua and brought them back. So that wasn't no synagogue tied to that. That synagogue and all that, and the Judaism came after that. But they didn't slid it all together, all in a nice little package and tied the New Testament with it. But that ain't this is a lie from the pits of hell. Okay.
Yes,
Let me play a little more.
Purely ethnic or geographic. There are Jews in Alexandria, in Rome, in Antioch, in Ephesus.
Like I say, when you understand the Septuagint and all that, these is not no Israelites. These ain't no Hebrews. These Jews is these Edomites. You understand what happened?
Diaspora communities that maintain their faith and practices in the midst of the heaven.
The New Testament come out of Alexandria, Egypt. That's why it's tied there. It's got so much Egypt stuff in it because it's born of a virgin, all that. Horus, one of the 16 crucified saviors. All these Edomites.
Hellenistic world, and this process of expanding the concept is fundamental to understanding the New Testament.
Exactly.
When Paul writes his letters, he constantly navigates between these three identities.
Yeah. Remember when we first started, he made a point to let you know Paul is a Jew. Yeah, you're right. He is a Jew.
He describes himself as a Hebrew of Hebrews, connecting himself to the deepest ancestry of the people. He is part of the people of Israel, invoking the national identity and the covenant of Sinai. And he is a Jew, identifying with a specific religious tradition that emerged from exile and shaped the Judaism of his time. 3 words, one man, 3 layers of an identity built across millennia. And Jesus? How does the New Testament situate Jesus?
So you see how they in order to get to JC and the Paul and all them and the 12 apostles, they had to hoodwink you back there when I showed you. There wasn't no Jews, there wasn't no Jews that came out of Babylon. It was Israelites. Okay. You got anything else on that?
And Shalom, Brother Leonard. What about them being in the land around that time, but being what was that other name they got? Idumea?
That's who it is. That's who that is.
Okay, right.
These are Edomites, Idumeans. It's an admixture. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's who that is. That Idumeans. Yeah, But all those phrases and words like that, they're not being dealt with because nobody, those people they're not going into it and they're understanding what's really going on. Those are the reason why it said Edomians, because of Edomite and Judea. When you put that word together, you get Edomian.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's and like I said, when you go to the book of Ezra, these Edomians the ones sent the letter to Darius. They don't want them back. You know what I'm saying? These Edomites and the Samaritans. Remember, he brought the king of Assyria brought 10 different nations and put them in the land of Israel. They're not Israelites. So they didn't acquire this glorious heritage. And remember, the land, the houses, and all that wasn't torn down. They came in, everything was in place. They didn't gain this glorious religion and land and all that. They don't want to give it back up. When they did their time in Babylon, the 70 years and came back, they don't want them back. That's why they sent the letter, wrote the letter to Artaxerxes and Darius and say, these people back. You got to do something with them. And then I explained how Deuteronomy 28 and 68 says, when we came over on slave trips because of the Most High had cast us off. He said, nobody gonna redeem you. But we see when they left Babylon, the Most High redeemed them. He had Cyrus bring his treasure out and gave him all that gold and silver and all that. What's the gold and silver for? To pay these clowns that got their people in captivity like they got us now. So when Ezra and them got back, they was mad because whatever price they gave them to redeem those Israelites, they had the money. They gave it to them. They had a problem with it. So when we came here, didn't nobody redeem us. It didn't go down like it went down after the 70 years in Babylon. Okay, so that's what that is. That's what all of, and like I say, it's a joke. Because you can see right here, there ain't no Israelites dealing with no synagogue when they came out of Babylon. That whole situation, like I just read, was righteous. They did the 70 years, and the Most High told them, call Zerubbabel and call Josiah, the two anointed ones, and they came back. They ain't dealing with no synagogue. They started dealing with synagogues when Israel left and went on the west coast, and these Edomites came in there, stole the land of Israel by lot. Let me read that. Right quick. A lot of people don't, they never even been there, but they read right over because they don't understand the story. So I'm in the book of Obadiah. We're gonna read that right quick. Golden nugget. Okay. Let me get it. Okay. Got one chapter. Trying to hide from me. Okay. Okay, hold up 1 minute. What time is about to win this book? Okay. 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 You got a King James Study Bible?
Yes, sir. I was just about to ask, what I need
What's
to
the
look
number? What's the page number in your book?
for which one?
Page number. You got Obadiah, right?
Right, yes, sir. It's
What's the page?
in the 12. Hold on 1 second, brother.
At the top of the page. Page number.
It is
Page
30.
number.
Mine is 13, 1371.
Okay.
No. 1369. The study page on there.
1369.
Yes, sir.
Crazy, man. See? Oh, man. What's the chapter before it?
Amos. Between Amos and Jonah.
Okay, so Amos. Okay, here it is right here. I'm tripping, man. It's crazy. So here we go. It says, verse 10. Only one chapter. For thy violence against thy brother, talking about these Edomites, Jacob's shame shall cover thee. Thou shalt be cut off forever. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away captive his forces. This when they was the Edomites. I mean, the Greeks came, ran the Israelites, Antioch Epiphanes ran them into Africa. He says, in the day when they stood on the other side, strangers carried away captive his forces, foreigners entered into his gates, cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was one of them. These Edomites, they was behind it, they orchestrated. But thou should have not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger, neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. So what's the day of destruction? You told them the Most High indignation is coming to a full. A king of fierce countenance is going to come. That's the third beast, but it's not in the scriptures. Okay? So it says, you got to go to first and second Maccabees to find that out. Then it says, and have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Now, 13, thou should not have entered into the gates of my people in the day of their calamity. This when Antiochus came. Yea, thou should not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. So how you lay hands on somebody's substance? Come in and you took their place, posing as them. That's when you get the synagogue of Satan. Okay? So you good.
Right. Sure.
So that's how that goes. So so what I'm gonna do is we go ahead and pick a scripture right quick, and we'll read that scripture and break it down. Then I went over my topic for discussion. I want to go back and I want to deal with that. My topic for discussion is pretty profound, so I'm not gonna skip it. You're gonna pick a scripture and then we'll go into that.
Okay, yes, sir. And Hosea, Brother Leonard, Hosea 12, and this, 2 through 5, sir. And it says, the Lord hath a controversy with Judah, and will punish Jacob according to his ways, according to his doings will he recompense him. He took his brother by the heel in the womb, and by his strength he had power with God. Yea, he had power over the angel and prevailed. He wept and made supplication unto him. He found him in Bethel, and there he spake with us. Even the Lord God of hosts, the Lord is his memorial. And shalom. Brother Leonard, that was Hosea 12, verses 2 through 5.
Right, and so that's another way. Like I said, these people got so much trickeration in this book, and when they got hotel scriptures, like right there, they want you to think that the God that Jacob dealing with is Yahweh, but it ain't. It's already showed you that he wrestled with an angel. It's not Yahweh.
Right.
That's what we're dealing with. That's the Most High. Like I said in the very beginning, the Creator created these 7 angels, but the first one he created was Michael. That's the God that's over Israel, second in charge. That's why he did what he did with with Joseph. Took him to Egypt and made him second in charge. Same place he ruled from. Mordecai did the same thing. So that's who you're dealing with. Okay? So
Sir.
you're good.
Good.
Right. So this topic for discussion is Black Americans. I mean, you want to watch the video later. The title of it is Black Americans Were Never What We Were Taught. So right here, this is where the lies coming in at. I'm trying to disembowel these lies. Okay. So it says Black Americans were never what we were taught. DNA. So it's the Most High. Either one with bringing forth this DNA. So DNA reveals the ancestry of royalty, right? Check it out.
For 4 centuries, America recorded Black American ancestors as cargo. The DNA disagrees. In 2023, geneticists at Harvard ran analysis on these family lines, expecting.
So before this technology right here, they did a number on us. Like I said, what I just showed you, they got you. They went back and got you thinking that's them that came out of Babylon. So after you look at what they done, then you don't have nothing else. You gonna believe that. But the Most High had another trick for them. Here we go.
To confirm what history said, but the results pointed somewhere else entirely. The lead researcher ran them again. Same result. The data did not lead back to slave ships. It led to the royal courts of West Africa. And what it revealed is stranger, grander, and more
West Africa. That's where they went.
Human than this country has ever been willing to say. There are Black Americans living in this country right now who opened a DNA kit expecting to find West Africa and the Atlantic crossing. What they found instead was a lineage that predates the slave trade itself.
Yeah, come on.
A direct genetic line to the ruling dynasties of Mali, Songhai, and the Yoruba kingdoms.
I just said
Many families gather around kitchen tables to reflect on their heritage. They have been told their whole lives that their people came from somewhere in West Africa, that the specific names and places and lineages were lost on the crossing, that the ships had erased all of that the most anyone could do was say Africa and leave it at that.
Exactly.
The piece of paper in their hands says otherwise. The direct maternal line, traced through the mitochondrial DNA that passed unchanged from mother to mother, back through every generation, connects to a lineage that the expanded reference database associates with the royal courts of the Mali Empire.
Right. So this DNA we just said the other day, now they even trace a family in Houston back to Mansa Musa. Come on. So where Mansa Musa at? The Mali Empire. Okay.
The Kira clan, with the dynasty that produced the wealthiest individual in recorded human history. They did not know what to do with that.
Exactly.
Nothing in what they had been taught prepared them for it. That is because America made that knowledge a problem, not accidentally, deliberately. The erasure of African lineage was not a side effect of the slave trade. It was one of its primary tools.
So this how you put this how you can put the Edomite footprint on this, because he already know what he had done. Obadiah just told you what he had done, but he had to cover it up. So this is what he doing right here. He trying to cover that up. What I just showed you, he trying to cover it up.
Strip the names, erase the languages, see where are the lines of inheritance. Make the people who came before invisible so that the people who came after would have nothing to claim, nothing to trace, nothing to hold against the system that had taken everything else. If this kind of buried history matters to you, leave a like on this video now. It costs nothing, and it helps this reach the people who need to hear it.
Exactly.
To understand what the data found, you have to start not with a laboratory, but with a kingdom, not as scenery, as an explanation. The Mali Empire at its peak in the 14th century controlled more wealth than all of Europe combined. It stretched from the Atlantic coast of West Africa to the Great Bend of the Niger River, encompassing trade routes, gold fields, and salt mines that supplied the known world. Its capital, Timbuktu, was not a remote outpost. It was one of the most literate cities on earth, a center of scholarship, law, and mathematics at a time when most of Europe was operating under feudal systems.
So let's look at something right quick. So now we know about all these books that's in Timbuktu. Well, damn, the Israelites from the very beginning, we got books. So it's only fitting and proper that you're gonna see all these books in Timbuktu. See, but we didn't have the mindset to see all that back then because of what they had done. But it's obvious. Come on, a baboon can see this. Come on.
That had no equivalent intellectual infrastructure. The Songhai Empire that followed expanded further still. Its universities drew scholars from across the known world. Its legal codes were sophisticated enough that European diplomats studied them. The Congo Kingdom maintained diplomatic relationships.
Why is it sophisticated? They're talking to angels. They're dealing with angels.
With European powers and a written language before most of its population was swept into the transatlantic slave trade. The Yoruba city-states of what is now southwestern Nigeria were among the most densely populated urban centers in the world in the 17th century.
Okay.
Capitals of the same era. These were not peripheral civilizations. They were the centers of the world, and the people taken from them, recorded in ledgers as cargo, shipped across the Atlantic in conditions designed to erase everything that came before, were not nameless. They had lineages, they had titles, they had ancestry that stretched back through royal courts and scholarly traditions and military dynasties that predated any European nation that would later claim to have discovered them. That distinction would shape everything that followed. The genetic research that changed this conversation did not begin with a single dramatic study. It began with a series of analyses published across multiple peer-reviewed journals between 2015 and 2023 that were each asking the same question. Where did Black American family lines actually begin? The Y chromosome, passed from father to son through every generation without mixing with maternal genetics, carries markers called haplogroups that function as a molecular timestamp. Mitochondrial DNA works in reverse, passed only through mothers, tracing the direct female line. Together, these two tools allow researchers to trace direct male and female lines with a precision that no census record or ship manifest can match. When researchers at Harvard applied these tools to Black American family lines in 2023, they were not expecting to find anything that contradicted the standard account. That account was well documented. It was widely.
Like I said, Isaiah 52, he's gonna keep me in that time period. Isaiah 52, 13, 14, 15 gonna be ringing like church bells.
Accepted. Then the data came back. In certain specific haplogroups, in certain direct male and female lines, the data pointed to lineages corresponding to the royal and noble families of specific West African kingdoms, to the ruling Keita clan of the Mali Empire, to the Askia dynasty of Songhai, to the Oyo lineages of the Yoruba kingdoms. The lead researcher ran the analysis again. Same result. Here is the question that result immediately raises. How did the descendants of royal lineages end up on slave ships? The answer is both specific and devastating. The decline of the Mali and Songhai empires in the 16th and 17th centuries created prolonged instability across West Africa. Kingdoms stable for generations fractured into competing successor states. Wars of succession produced prisoners. Prisoners entered the slave trade. The machinery of the transatlantic trade did not distinguish between a captive farmer and a captive prince. The traders who bought from African intermediaries were not interested in genealogy. They were interested in bodies. The ships did not ask for names. The ledgers did not record titles. And the people who kept those records were not interested in what had been. They were interested only in what they could make those bodies do next. That single sentence, the ships did not ask for names, contains the entire architecture of what the slave trade was designed to accomplish. Not just the theft of labor, the theft of history, the deliberate severing of the connection between a people and what they came from, so that what they came from could never.
Then the Lord of hosts say he's going to disconnect them from their heritage.
Right. Sure.
We're looking at it right here.
Ever be used to challenge what was being done to them. Think about what that severing actually required. It required that the languages not be passed down, that the lineage names not be spoken, that the specific knowledge of which kingdom, which clan, which court, knowledge that in West African tradition was considered among the most sacred things a person could carry, be made inaccessible within a single generation. The system that accomplished this was not careless. It was precise. It knew exactly what it was destroying and why. If you had told the grandmother's grandmother of any of these families that their lineage connected to the Kira clan of Mali, they would not have had the words to process that information. Not because it was unbelievable, because the system around them had been specifically designed to make it unbelievable, to make the past feel not just lost, but non-existent, to make cargo feel like the beginning of the story rather than the violent interruption of one. Drop a comment below and tell me, had you ever heard any of this before today? And yet something survived in the haplogroups, in the molecular record that no ship manifest and no plantation ledger and no law could reach. Sarah Tishkoff of the University of Pennsylvania, one of the world's foremost experts on African genetic diversity, has documented that any two individuals from different African linguistic groups can be more genetically different from each other than a European is from an Asian. The genetic diversity within Africa dwarfs the diversity in the rest of the world combined, because humans originated in Africa and have been living there longer, and have had more time to differentiate. What this means for Black American ancestry is that the African DNA carried in Black American genomes is not a single undifferentiated inheritance. It is a collection of distinct lineages from specific populations, specific regions, specific historical moments. Some connect to farmers, some to traders, some, as the data now suggests, to king. The Transatlantic Slave Trade Database documents approximately 12.5 million Africans transported to the Americas. It is a remarkable scholarly achievement. It is also incomplete. It captures ship manifests and colonial records and plantation ledgers. It does not capture the full diversity of the African populations from which those 12.5 million people were drawn. The genetic data is filling those gaps. And what it keeps finding is that the African ancestry of Black Americans is more diverse, more historically complex, and more connected to specific social strata within African societies than any documentary record would have revealed. The reaction to these findings within the academic community has been cautious, and that caution deserves honest attention. Several researchers have raised methodological concerns. The haplogroups associated with noble families in Mali or Songhai overlap, in many cases, with haplogroups that appear in the general population of those regions. Identifying a haplogroup as specifically royal rather than generally regional requires a precision in the comparative database that not everyone agrees has been achieved. These are legitimate concerns. The researchers who produced the analysis acknowledge them. They describe their findings not as proof, but as a pattern requiring further investigation. Someone else has a Y chromosome haplogroup associated with the Askia dynasty of Songhai. They did not go looking for royalty. They went looking for themselves, for the names and places and histories that 4 centuries of American life had systematically removed from their families. And what the data gave them back.
So, like I was saying, you understand who the Lord of Hosts is, you know just how to do you. Same way he did us, look what he doing. Who you think behind these databases and all this stuff with the slave ship voyages? Okay, you know just how to do you. You got any feedback on that before we go?
And shalom, brother Leonard, yes, sir. And just how you said that, you know how to do you, and just how they're all admitting. Like when you play that clip the other day, that the new Pope, you know, admitted to their role in the slave trade.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
you know, and then I don't remember what it was called, Brother Leonard, but the one that Argentina, Israel, and what's that? I guess France had denied their role in it or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, the greatest atrocity in humanity is in the
Right.
transatlantic slave trade. They disagreed. All the rest of the countries did, but it was America, Israel, and Argentina.
America, Israel, Argentina. Right. And see that shows what kind of people we dealing with. You know, ain't
Exactly.
no remorse.
That's the Jews. Yeah, what you got to understand. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Right. So yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, everybody. We had our reading through the Tanakh for tomorrow. Okay, women can come in through YouTube, uh, 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. Shalom, shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.